Hi, my name is Liz Cornell. I'm with Holistic Animal Studies, and today we're going to take a few minutes to talk about how you can identify if your horse needs body work. So the first thing you really need to do is understand the quality of your horse's gaits when the horse is feeling good. So try to observe your horse out in the pasture or when you're riding or someone else is on your horse or you're lunging, to see how the legs move, how free they are, where the hind feet fall in comparison to the front footsteps. Does your horse drag his toes? Did your horse start tripping? So you want to know how the horse moves when they're feeling good, so that if they're a little bit off, you can identify something might be going on. So for educational purposes, some people have a hard time determining which leg or what part of the horse's body is having trouble. So we'll take a look at 3 different horse videos, real short, and let's see if you can identify in general where the problem may be lying for this horse. So here are 3 short clips. Okay, so let's talk about the first horse. He was obviously very lame, and as you noticed, and you can watch it again in a minute, he throws his head up on one front leg and drops his head down on the other. So the leg that's the injured leg or foot is going to be the leg that's in sync, landing when the head flies upward. Now, the reason for this is because they're trying to get the weight off the bad leg. So the head and the neck are a lot of weight together. So when they land on the good leg, they're going to go ahead and drop their head down to put more weight on that leg, and they're going to bring their head up when they land on the bad leg. So in his case, he was very off on his right front. So he would throw his head up. So we're going to play that again so you can watch that. Now, I will just say, in his case, it's a very serious lameness, so a vet should be called in. The other choice that it might be is an abscess. So I do know in the case of him, it was an abscess in that particular case. So a vet can help, or your farrier can help, or you soak, etc., etc. So abscesses come on strong often when you least expect it, and they look terrible, but there's just a lot of pain as the abscess moves around in the horse's foot. Okay, so go ahead and watch that again so you can see how bad he is on his right front. Now for the second horse, this is a little more subtle, and you will see that as the horse is walking along, his head comes up slightly when he lands on his left front. So it's a little bit subtle, and that's a case where body work could potentially help this horse. Not always. It could be something more serious, which a vet would need to find. So if there is a soft tissue injury somewhere in the shoulder, or I've actually had horses pull a deep pectoral muscle, which is in behind the elbow, way up deep in there, and that's a tricky spot to find. So sometimes it is a soft tissue, and body work can help that situation. You won't know until you actually do that kind of work. So a deep massage or whatever. Or it could be something more serious. Or it could even be an abscess as well. So there's a lot of different things it can be, but at least you could identify it's on the left front. Watch that one again. Okay, so now the last horse is a quick view, 5 seconds from behind. And if you study the pelvis behind, that horse's pelvis is dropped heavily on the right side. So he's got a severe imbalance of his pelvis, which will make him look off and move funny on his right hind. So if he were to trot off, he would look definitely a little bit uneven for sure. So that's a situation where he could use some body work, but probably a chiropractor would need to be called in. One of the courses we do offer here is for alignment, and there is other ways to align a pelvis other than a straight chiropractor. So be aware of that. Now, a horse that's off on the hind end or leg somewhere will go ahead and drop a particular hip from behind. You can see them drop that side. So that's the easiest way to note a horse is lame from behind, is to have them trot directly away from you and watch the hips. Are they going up and down, or do they land evenly, or is one sort of dropping every step? So that's something to be aware of. So in this particular case, his pelvis is misaligned to begin with. But go ahead and watch that quick one more time. Hi, we're back, and this time I have my horse, Cavatina. She's a 9-year-old warm blood mare doing pre-St. George level dressage. So she's got a lot of muscles. So she's quite the athlete. So we're gonna use her as our demo horse today. And a couple of things I want you to think about before I show you how to check your horse. And that is, think about your horse's normal behavior. And if they suddenly are acting funny about you picking up their legs to clean their feet, or they don't want to be saddled anymore, they get cranky about this or that, or they don't want the halter put on anymore, any change in normal behavior probably means there's something wrong. And there's a good chance one of our therapies of bodywork will help her out. So, for instance, since I bred her and had her since a baby, from day one she never wanted her ears touched. And she was always slightly head shy putting on the halter. And that's how she came out from her mama. So I knew it wasn't quite normal. So believe it or not, over the years I worked on her and did cranial sacral therapy for her head. And she now lets me mess with her ears, which she didn't want me to touch. And she's perfectly fine putting on the halter and the bridle and everything. So these are some of the things that you can fix or can be fixed. So think about that. That usually is a red flag that there's something going on with your horse. And maybe they're not lame or anything, but they're telling you they're uncomfortable. So any of us could use a massage any day of the week, right? You know, does your horse need body work? Sure, every horse could use body work anytime. However, when there is something new that's developed, you probably should take, a little closer look at what's happening. So, palpation. Palpation is something we're going to do to check your horse over with your hands, generally with your fingers. Okay? So, we certainly want to start with the head. And if you can't put your hand right softly and gently, easily on your horse's face or any part of their head, including the ears, then there's something going on. So cranial sacral, for example, will really remove these so-called headaches, which they're a type of headache, constant irritation on their face, and that's what a head shy horse is. A head shy horse really needs cranial sacral help to remove the discomfort in the head. So that's one thing. The other thing is we want to check the TMJ. This is the bone that protrudes just kind of up the line between the eye and the ear. That's the point where the two jaws have their joint. And generally, if you press pretty hard just underneath it, and they fling their head, or they lick and chew, or they respond, you can also do a little massage pressure here. Then they need their teeth done, generally speaking. So that's a sign to check with your horse. And most body workers will find that and will tell you, hey, your horse needs to get their teeth done. Okay, so moving right along, we're going to use our fingers on the soft tissue. Now the neck has a lot of muscles, and here are your cervicals, which are your neck vertebrae. They come up like this. It's not a straight line across. This is a ligament. This is the nuchal ligament across here. So a lot of horses have very stiff necks, especially quarter horses who tend to balance themselves on their front ends. Horses that use too much on the front end will use their neck for balance. Ideally, you don't want them using their neck for balance. You want them using their back and their hind ends, their main part of their body. So what you want is a nice loose neck. So you can check for some looseness. If this is really tight, then that needs some work. Now, you're going to watch your horse for their response, because the horse is going to really communicate to you what bothers them and what doesn't. So how can they tell you that they don't like something? Well, they can swing around and look at you. They can pin their ears. They can threaten to kick. They can move away, or they could maybe shake. There's different ways, but if you watch the horse's reaction, you'll get to know when they're sending you a signal they don't like something. So it's really the horse that's going to tell you what's bothering them. So I'm going to press a little bit harder on her neck. And she's not so reactive today. Some days she is. So there, she's a little reactive. And we have muscles underneath the neck. Okay. And we have muscles along the cervical here, and we have muscles above the neck. The horse has 700 muscles, so there's a lot of muscles in the horse's body. And of course the neck has a lot of them. Okay, so any reaction, so she's a little bit tight in the neck, she's a little reactive, nothing horrible. I know her, if she doesn't like something, she pins her ears. Or, now there she's licking and chewing, so that little bit of stroking I've done means it feels good. She's relaxing a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to head to the withers. Okay, there's the evil eye. Do you see that? So she's telling me she's a little sore there. And I'm just pressing, sliding my fingers. This is the shoulder. So she's a little sore here. She's moving around, looking a little cranky. She's very sensitive. So now some horses are stoic. You have to press pretty hard to get some kind of reaction. It depends on the horse. I don't have to press that hard with her. Step up. Okay. Now we're going to check in the front here. These are the pectorals. We're going to check a little here. Oh, now she wants to bite me. So she's definitely sore in her front end. She works very hard. So she needs, I work on her all the time. But she's an athlete that works hard, and she's very sensitive. So I'm not surprised at her reactions today. So we're going to check where the saddle is. Now her back usually is pretty tight. There she's moving. So I'm just going to, yeah, she's tight here. So sometimes they're just tight because she's got so much muscling. But a lot of times they actually are sore. So I don't have to press hard here, obviously. So now I'm going to check where the girth is. Oh. Now yesterday you didn't react to the girth, but today, okay. For her, this is not much reaction, because I know her. You want to check the ribs, you're just going to put your hands really all over the horse's body. Now, muscles are above the knees and above the hips, nothing below. So you do want to check their front legs, the extensor muscles. She's nipping, so she's definitely showing us she's tight and a little bit sore. As we get further back, she's probably not going to be so reactive. Easy. So you can go ahead and take your fingers down just on the inside of their spine and press a little hard. Go ahead all the way down. And then this bumped area is the SI, sacroiliac. You can check in there. See, I got no reaction. I'm pressing pretty hard here. And we have the gluteus muscles here. heading back to the hamstring muscles. I'm pressing, no real reaction back here from her. And the stifle area, you must be very careful. But again, you got to keep your eye on her. She doesn't trust me. She thinks I'm going to poke her and hurt her. And check these muscles here. And then on the inside of the butt, the gracilis muscles in here is good to check, because these could be real tight. So she was less reactive in the back. So she works hard for her extensions that I do with her. So this horse is definitely a candidate for body work. I do it a lot because she's an athlete. So horses that are really expected to perform do need quite a bit of body work. So that's really it in a nutshell. Know your own horse, watch for reactions, use your fingers, go ahead and penetrate. I will tell you that the hind end muscles are fairly, in the pelvis area, are fairly deep. So sometimes you have to press pretty hard in the back. Not so hard in the front. But be careful that they don't hurt you. If you press too hard, of course they can really get upset. Now, I'll close with looking at symmetry. It's fun to see how bad or how good your horse's symmetry is. And there's an easy way to do that, and that is to square your horse up and look at the shoulders and the pelvis as a basic way. You can also study the face. In cranial sacral therapy, we like to study the face to see that the eyes and the nostrils of your horse, and even the ears, that everything is symmetrical. Her nostrils up a little bit on the left side, but her eyes are level and everything. So now we're going to square her up. There we go. She's going to square up her, there we go. Her front feet are square. So the easiest thing to do is to stand behind the horse and look down their back. Now if you need a stool, obviously don't do it if you don't trust the horse. But it's a very good exercise to stand behind your horse and look at the shoulders. Her left scapula, this is the scapula, the shoulder bone, is a little bit bigger than her right. So that's very common. The scapulas can be too different on the left and right. Always fit your saddle to the bigger scapula. Chances are, if you palpate in through here and you get a bad reaction, the saddle is an issue for your horse. So you want to be careful. Also in the back of the saddle. So saddles, that's another whole subject entirely. But saddles do need to fit, and they often will pinch here, maybe put pressure back there. The opposite, so that's a saddle that bridges when there's too much pressure front and back. Then you have the saddles that rock, there's too much pressure in the middle. That's another issue with saddle fit. So depending on where they react, you may have a saddle fit issue going on. Same thing for the girth. I do run, or cinch, I do run into problems. A lot of horses need the shoulder relief girth. Okay, so checking the symmetry of the hind legs is the same thing. You're just going to square them up and you're going to look at the pelvis from behind. Now, she's not square at the moment. I'm going to move her left hind forward. Now let's have her step forward. Sorry. You don't always cooperate, right? There we go. Okay, now she's standing and she's pretty even. She's pretty, actually she's not. They need to be perfectly square. But you just want to stand back there and study the pelvis. As you saw in that third clip earlier, that one horse, as he went away, you could really see his right pelvis was lower. So that horse needed a lot of help. But we have bodywork courses here at Holistic Animal Studies that teaches you alignment. So you can actually learn to align your horse, which includes the shoulders and the pelvis. And you can check the spine, etc. So that's a really cool course. And I think that concludes today's video. If you have any questions or are interested, we do offer courses if you don't want to become a professional in this work, but you want to just help your horses. We do have discounted courses for horse owners. So if you don't need a fancy certification, but you want to be able to help your horse yourself, we have some courses available for you online. Thanks for listening.